What are you gonna do? Take on two evil sisters and their entire army?
Pretty much.
Welcome to Durbania, I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler-free review for The Huntsman, Winter's War. Overall, this movie was way better than the first movie. Honestly, though, that's not that hard to do. I really did not like Snow White and the Huntsman at all. For a movie called Snow White and the Huntsman, you kind of think love story between the two of them. I don't feel like that happened. It kind of, love triangle. Point is I felt like Snow White, the way she was portrayed in that movie, it brought the movie down rather than elevating the movie up. And so, I don't know. I saw Snow White and the Huntsman, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't even really remember it that much. There's a few things I remember, but what can I say? But this movie really was way better. I mean, from the beginning, it feels like this huge weight is lifted off this movie. And the movie from the very beginning, it starts with some heavy subject matter. I mean, you're introduced to Charlize Theron, Queen Ravenna, and her sister, who's like the villain of this movie, played by Emily Blunt, Queen Freya. So you get to meet them. You get to kind of get a preview and insight into their relationship and what they are to each other and things like that. And then, Queen Freya, she has a baby and, the baby gets killed and she feels like she gets burned and scorned by her lovers, burned and scorned when literally her baby is burned, and it opens heavy. So when I say it feels like a great weight has been lifted off this movie, even when it opens that heavy, it's like, they did more right in this movie than they did in the first movie. And so you get the idea as to why Emily Blunt is so cold. She's been burned by love. She lost her baby, so the ice wall is around her heart. I mean, really, it's a lot of metaphors there. But it's still cool to get the motivation, to kind of see what has driven her to this point and what makes it so intense. And so we get to see that and why she wants to capture, all these kid slaves and build an army and things like that. And then you have Liam Neeson narrating us in the beginning like he's reading us a story. And seriously, Liam Neeson's reading me a story, I'm listening. So one of the things that really did make this movie a whole lot lighter was the relationship between Eric and Sarah. That's our two leads in this movie. In the very beginning of this movie, it was all about quickly building their love story so we can actually tell the story of this movie. On the one hand, it sounds like that's kind of a rush thing, and how could that possibly be that good? But it actually really wasn't that bad. You get to see that they're kid slaves together. They become, they grow up together. They build a friendship. They fall in love. You kind of get that whole picture. And you don't just get it. I felt like I felt it. It wasn't extreme, oh, I feel it. But it was, oh, yeah, I'm with you. I'm understanding. I get the stakes here. That's kind of where I was with it. And then when they get separated, it's a fairy tale. So it's a little bit predictable how that unfolds. But it still doesn't make it any less good. Now, here was the thing that surprised me. From every trailer I watched, I thought for sure this was all a prequel taking place before the Snow White movie. But only the beginning of the movie was that. Then it goes 7 years later, and it takes place inside Snow White's kingdom, after defeating Queen Ravenna. And there was no Snow White in this movie. There's one quick shot, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't even Kristen Stewart. I'm pretty sure it was a double, and, because you didn't even see her face or anything like that. So, I don't know. Honestly, I think that's part of the reason this movie was so much lighter. There was no Snow White. So when you had Eric and Sarah, the chemistry that was between them, the relationship that was between them, even when there was drama going on, I was able to buy into that more than I was able to buy into what was going on in the first one. The chemistry and everything that was happening in the second one between Eric and Sarah was everything that probably should have been going on in the first movie so that I would remember it. One of the best parts of this movie, though, those dwarves. They were awesome. One of the dwarves from the first movie came back. I think he's from the first movie. Honestly, I don't remember. I won't forget this guy now. Oh, crud, I forget his name. But I won't forget him as a person. He was hysterical. And then he brings in his half-brother into this. And those two together are hilarious characters. And then we meet two more female dwarves. So now you have Chris Hemsworth. You got Chris Hemsworth's girl. You got 4 dwarves, and they're all on this quest now to recover the mirror that was being sent away from Snow White because she couldn't handle it anymore. And it went missing on the road to get away, and now they're trying to track it down before Queen Freya can get it and, rule the world because she has the magic mirror of power or something. But as they're questing, I mean, these four dwarves together are just simply hysterical. I mean, I had tears in my eyes at one point. I was just laughing so hard. I really enjoyed the dwarves in this movie. They were great characters. And then you have Queen Ravenna, Charlize Theron, and then Queen Freya, Emily Blunt. You get kind of introduced to what is kind of their rivalry, but it's not like a rivalry. It's kind of like an unsettling that's between them, you know? Because even though the Ice Queen has built a wall of ice around her heart, you just kind of feel there's something soft in there somewhere. Whereas Charlize Theron, that woman is pure ice, even though she has no ice powers. But it's kind of the ironic thing. Like, that woman is stone cold. But those two together and the contrast between them, it was really good and well done. If there were negatives in this movie, it was that, yeah, it was very predictable. I mean, there was one element of this movie that if I told you, it'd be kind of a spoiler, but I don't know. From the very beginning of the movie, you'll hear them say a line and you'd be like, oh, well, that's coming back. They'll say that line again. Okay, I get it. That's coming back. They'll say that line again. All right, man, I get it. It's coming back. Sure enough, 10 times after reminding you of that line, it comes back. And so it's like, okay, yeah, we saw that coming from like the opening credits. Thank you. And I felt like it borrowed a lot from like Lord of the Rings. There were some jokes about female dwarves that were very similar to jokes that Gimli made in the Two Towers Extended Edition. There were some things with Emily Blunt as the Ice Queen that reminded me of Elsa, like a more evil version of Elsa from Frozen, but also reminded me an awful lot of the White Witch from Narnia. So she kind of reminded me of those two characters at the same time. Lord of the Rings, Narnia, all these things, they're pulling from this fairy tale pull. In this movie, it's pulling from the exact same pull. So they're pulling from the same mythology. So yeah, of course, there's going to be borrowed elements and things that are very similar. So I guess I could say that in the movie's defense, but you know, it's one of those things where Lord of the Rings, oh, Narnia, oh, Frozen, you know, as I'm watching it. But in the end, I will say I did enjoy this movie. I mean, I laughed. I thought the action was good. I thought the storytelling was good. I thought the chemistry between characters was really good. I felt like a weight was lifted off this movie. So really, I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I had a really good time watching it. It only gets 3.5 out of 5 stars, though, because as much as I really liked it, I don't feel like I have to see it again, and I really don't want to own it on Blu-ray, but at the same time, if I saw it pop up on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, yeah, I could see myself hitting play and watching it again. Those are my thoughts on this movie. If you happen to see it, what did you think of The Huntsman Winter's War? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.